In this edition of Southern Newsweek, the Blueskin Resilient Communities Trust lives up to its name as it lodges an appeal to fight the wind farm decision. The effects, or lack thereof, of the Zika virus are about to be known thanks to School of Medicine monitoring, and the future just got a little brighter for the Night Shelter Trust thanks to a couple of much needed cash injections. Kia ora, I'm Holly Buchanan. The fight to establish a wind farm near Waitati is entering its next stage. Members of the Blueskin Resilient Communities Trust have lodged an appeal against a recent decision by the Dunedin City Council to decline consent. And they're hoping to find a quick resolution to the issues identified to get the project back on track.
Plans to establish a wind farm north of the city are still very much progressing. That's despite the Dunedin City Council recently declining an application by the Blueskin Resilient Communities Trust. The Trust has decided to appeal the decision on the basis that Hearings Commissioner Colin Weatherall didn't equally consider all sides of the argument.
There's something called the National Policy Statement on Renewable Energy Generation, which is something of a mouthful, which is a government document which says effectively to councils and so forth, you need to think about encouraging this kind of behaviour or these kinds of projects. So our view is that it was finely balanced. We think that weighting wasn't done correctly.
Trust members say they're keen to explore any options that could mitigate the perceived problems, including changing the number of turbines. Marshall says while it could only require minor changes, the process from here could be lengthy.
The potential is for the hearing to be essentially held over so that you might have to do it all again. There is an opportunity for mediation and that has to be agreed, but that would certainly be our preference in the first instance is to discuss whether we can find something that meets our needs and meets the neighbours' needs.
He says it's been heartening hearing messages of support from the community urging the Trust to appeal the decision. While the costly endeavour is now going ahead, there's still a lot of things to sort.
We've lodged an appeal yesterday. All those who submitted have also received that document, and they have 15 working days to decide whether they want to become part of that appeal, and they can either support or reject our proposal. So presumably they would do whatever it is they said in their initial proposal.
Once that happens, the Environment Court will look at mediation options or, failing that, a possible full-scale court hearing. It's said to be a yet another wait-and-see situation, something the Trust knows all too well already. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Dunedin's popularity as a tourism destination is on the increase. The city is experiencing the same rise in international visitor numbers as Queenstown and is only slightly behind Auckland. Enterprise Dunedin says the statistics show our city and its attractions are proving to be a honey trap.
Can you take my picture? It's a question being asked more and more as the city and its landmarks attract an increasing number of visitors. Destination Dunedin manager Ryan Craig says Dunedin is second only to Auckland in regards to tourist numbers on the rise.
For the year ended April 2016 against April 2013, it's increased by 35%, and that's going into our shoulder season. So just to give you an example in terms of international visitor spend, and these are visitor spend figures, in our peak season February, year ended February 2016 versus year ended February 2013, we've increased by 53% in terms of international visitor spend.
Craig says the city is increasingly a topic of interest for both national and international media, with the most recent example being a 27-page spread in Ideologue magazine.
But I think the most important thing is the collaborative marketing approach that's being taken by Enterprise Dunedin with the whole of city. I think the fact that we've got an extremely strong brand in the Dunedin brand, and the stories we tell under that are very engaging with our audience.
He says as well as the city's architecture attracting more tourist attention, the number of people spending nights in Dunedin has been bolstered by several events recently held in the stadium.
So obviously we've had the All Blacks test recently, which saw the city really humming. The Chiefs Highlanders game, the city was pumping as well. I mean, if we get a semi-home final here, if the Chiefs win tonight and the Highlanders win tomorrow, that's going to be huge for the city. I think the other key thing is, we're seeing acts like Flume starting world tours in this part of the world, and including Dunedin.
Craig predicts tourism growth will increase year on year as the Dunedin brand continues to thrive on both the national and international stage. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
The effects of the Zika virus on New Zealand infants will soon be monitored by the Dunedin School of Medicine. From next month, its Paediatric Surveillance Unit will gather data from the country's paediatricians, focusing on abnormalities among at-risk children. And staff are hopeful the results will show the virus has had little effect locally.
Associate Professor Nigel Dixon is preparing to begin a monitoring program related to Zika virus. He's part of the New Zealand Paediatric Surveillance Unit, established in 1997 by the Ministry of Health to monitor polio symptoms. Almost 20 years on, the framework is still being utilised.
We've took advantage of the system, which is having monthly contact with paediatricians, to look for a number of other uncommon but important conditions which specialist paediatricians would see. So this is really monthly surveilling of specialist paediatricians looking for a number of uncommon but important diseases.
The unit is based out of the former Children's Pavilion building at Dunedin Hospital. The Ministry of Health funded unit is now set to be used to monitor children who may have issues due to a parent coming into contact with Zika virus.
So really what we've done with Zika that's come along onto the scene this year, we're taking the opportunity to use a system that we've had in place to ask paediatricians to report on any children with microcephaly or other obvious brain abnormalities whose mother during the pregnancy spent some time in a Zika affected area.
Zika virus has been in the news a lot lately, due in part to an epidemic in Brazil, but there have been several outbreaks in recent years, particularly in Pacific countries. It's those areas that Dixon says New Zealand mothers would be likely to have visited, but he's hopeful that the monitoring project will show a lack of abnormalities.
So I think the best news will be, and what we'd like to report back, is saying even though we've got a surveillance system in place, we have not found any children. But in a way, if you haven't got a surveillance system in place, there might be a few children out there.
The monitoring program officially begins in August, with the country's paediatricians asked to report any and all cases of children under 6 months of age with any type of brain abnormality. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of upgrades to Portobello Road are on track to be complete next month. That's despite an initial set of alterations to the piece of road attracting several public complaints. But with a new contractor in place, Dunedin City Council staff are confident they've got it right this time.
It's been a stop-go process for the Dunedin City Council. But Acting Group Manager of Transport, Richard Saunders, believes the Portobello Road upgrades are on track to be completed on time.
The progress is going really well. South Roads have been engaged and are on track for completion before the end of September. So we're happy with the progress at this stage.
Saunders says the contract is worth more than $500,000, a figure he says staff are being careful to stick to.
Yeah, look, it's on budget. This particular portion of works the contract value was just over $600,000, and that's what we're tracking towards at the moment.
The layout of the road is being changed following much public input, and Saunders says once it's finished, it should work far better for all road users.
We recognise that there were some issues with the original design, which is why we've gone about trying to rectify those with some input. So what we're looking at now is a dedicated shared path for cyclists that's clearly marked, so there's no confusion over what's road and what's cycleway. We're retaining the parking for the residents, which is important to them, and also making two clear lanes for the traffic, just to make sure that driver safety is looked after as well.
He says the new layout will see 2 lanes of traffic, residents parking, a berm or grass verge, and a shared cycleway cum footpath. The council is footing just over half of the $600,000 bill, with the rest being covered by the New Zealand Transport Authority and the government's Cycleway Fund. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
Staff at the Dunedin Night Shelter are positive about the organisation's future after 2 separate cash injections. More than 150 people slept rough recently to raise funds for the shelter as well as awareness about homelessness. But it's not the only financial support the Trust has received in recent days.
A home when you've not got one. It's a service that Dunedin Night Shelter is happy to provide. And Trust Chairman Dave Brown is thankful to the Dunedin City Council for a new grant it's received in the annual funding round.
That's quite good. They give us an amount every year, which is much needed, and that sort of goes through to running costs and keeping paying wages and that sort of thing to keep the place open.
Brown was among 150 people who slept rough in the Octagon at the weekend to raise funds and awareness for the Dunedin Night Shelter. It was an endeavour he says it was great to be part of.
Yeah, it was good. Weather was good. Well, stayed good throughout the night, but it was still quite chilly. And the entertainment, they put on entertainment, and that was quite good during the night, and everything went fairly smoothly.
The Trust was last year able to purchase this 5-bedroom building in Lees Street, and Brown says it's given the Trust breathing space to help in other ways. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, we'll find out why a local academic is stepping out of the classroom to tackle horticultural issues. And the miniature library craze is about to go global, and it's all down to the efforts of a Dunedin woman. Welcome back. A University of Otago lecturer is branching out from his pharmacy background to help tackle issues with horticulture. Dr. Greg Walker has come up with a way to protect crops from pests by using nanoweb technology. And it's an idea that's attracting both interest and investment.
An idea inspired by nature. This spiderweb-like invention is set to help protect plants from unwanted pests without the use of harmful chemicals. The concept came to pharmacy lecturer Dr. Greg Walker about a year ago after he attended an agriculture technology conference.
They were talking about the need for better ways to spray chemicals or agents to plants for crop protection, and it sort of got me thinking about how we could sort of apply our work that we're doing here at the School of Pharmacy for medicines. And so we essentially formulate medicine, so why can't we formulate biological agents for pest control better?
The idea is to use nanowebs that resemble spiderwebs to apply active agents to plants. Walker says the interest in the project so far has been driven by the government's desire to both assist and grow the horticultural industry by working to improve current practices.
Our idea is it's using electrostatic applications, so the solution is charged, it then fires towards the earth plant, and therefore you get no runoff because it sticks to the plant and you don't get any off-target effects. So really it should be in theory more efficient, and we've sort of shown that in the laboratory.
Walker says his role within the pharmacy department has helped inspire the project and is proving beneficial in its current developmental phase. He says it's exciting to show how traditional practices and techniques used in medicine can be used in other ways.
Formulation science is not just about human medicine, but it's also delivering active agents to animals, for agriculture, and also plants. They also need medicines, and so I think we need to sort of think about them as well.
The project has just received $25,000 from the KiwiNet Emerging Innovator Fund to help Walker grow the idea even further. He says the next stage will be taking it out of the lab and into the real world, with further funding applications in the works to help him do just that. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
St Paul's Cathedral has recently farewelled its Director of Music. Organist George Chittenden is off to Sweden to take up a prestigious role at an ancient church. And while he was excited about the new job, he acknowledged there's plenty he'll miss about living in Dunedin.
Taking a last look around, Director of Music George Chittenden is in his final few days at St Paul's Cathedral. He's getting set to take up a new role as an organist within a medieval church in Helsingborg, Sweden.
I'm very excited for the new position in Sweden. Very, very sad to be leaving Dunedin as well. I've had 5 really enjoyable, I feel very rewarding years here. But I'm very excited for the new opportunities and possibilities that there are in Scandinavia.
He says he's looking forward to the move and the new role, but he says there's plenty he'll miss about Dunedin.
I'll certainly miss the great community spirit in Dunedin, the fact that there's a fantastic classical music network, that people are very, very supportive of concerts and the arts. Certainly miss the wonderful landscape and scenery as well, particularly seeing the Otago Peninsula over the last few days. That's something that will really stay with me forever.
While Chittenden found out about the new role a few months ago, he says he's only just tied up one final loose end.
About 6 months ago I started recording a CD of Baroque organ music on our wonderful cathedral organ here. And I got about halfway through the project, and then when I realised I'd be leaving, I thought, well, this is an excellent reason for me to finish my project as soon as I possibly can. So I've done a lot more recording recently and had the CD produced and mastered and the booklets printed, and now it's available for sale.
The cathedral is currently in the process of finding a replacement organist, with an appointment likely before the end of the year. For Chittenden, though, he's just focused on the busy few days ahead, with a valedictory organ recital, choir concert and 2 final Sunday services to go. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Over the past 18 months, a host of miniature libraries have sprung up across the city. Lilliput Libraries is a community project started by local woman Ruth Arneson, and it's an idea that's about to go global.
Personalising a mini library. Ruth Arneson's Lilliput Library idea, which launched just over a year ago, is beginning to outgrow its namesake. It's an idea that began following a chat with a family member based in Australia.
My son was living in Melbourne and he found a little free library at the end of his street and sent me a picture, and I just looked at that and thought, I can do that. And I thought that would be a really good project for the year. Yeah, I was looking for a Poems and Waiting Room project.
There are now more than 30 of the small community libraries around Dunedin, and more planned. Arneson says it's an idea that's also set to expand both nationally and beyond.
There's 35 in the community right now. I've got another 50 planned. They're either being painted or made. Somebody in Wellington wanted one, someone's gone up to Wellington. There's 4 due to go to Queenstown, and I've had interest from Australia, but the cost of getting them there, so I've just sent people in Australia our plans.
Arneson works part-time and curates the Poems in the Waiting Room pamphlets in New Zealand. And in her alleged spare time, she stays busy spreading the word about Lilliput Libraries. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
And just ahead on Southern Newsweek, a local artist launches a book showcasing a project that encompasses the many different faces of Carisbrook. And the captain of the victorious Otago Rugby League team credits their win to their team approach. Welcome back. A local artist is breathing new life into a former project in the hope of preserving the work for years to come. Araha Novak's The Brook project was an art installation celebrating the long history of the Carisbrook site in Caversham. And now it's set to be the focal point of a new book.
A series of embroideries has been hung around a shared art space on Lower Stewart Street. Artist Araha Novak is putting the final touches on the space ahead of her book launch.
The Brook project was a site-specific art project. It was an art installation that was held at the Carisbrook Stadium site last year.
The arrangement of the embroideries in the new space represent themes of pre-settler Carisbrook, colonisation and rugby culture. Around 25 of the pieces were stolen from the installation site earlier this year. Novak says a book is a good way of preserving the vulnerable work for years to come.
Being able to document a project which only happened for a day and then have it in a book format with other people contributing to it it's a great way to see a project through to the end.
She says it's also a way to acknowledge other artists who contributed to the project.
And it's just a celebration of the project, and I just need to acknowledge the other people who came together and helped.
Novak says the book is an artistic pursuit in itself, and she isn't ruling out writing more in the future.
When it comes
Before that, though, she's off to Auckland to stage another site-specific art project in September. Jack Conroy, 39 Dunedin News.
The city's only access radio station has, for the first time, received a service grant from the Dunedin City Council. Otago Access radio staff say they're chuffed with the $10,000 grant that will go towards everyday running costs. And while the money is very welcome, it's not the only thing they're excited about.
Helping ensure this sign stays on. Otago Access Radio is one of a handful of recipients in the Dunedin City Council's latest city project and service grants round. It's the first time staff at the station have applied for the money, and they say it's reassuring to see that the work they do is valued.
It's a way that we align our own strategies with the council's strategy, so it's really nice to be recognised that we have, community wellbeing and strengthening at the heart of what we do here at Otago Access Radio, and it just melds in beautifully with the council's own wellbeing and community strategies.
Paris says it's always nice to have recognition from the City Council. She says this latest money received will be put towards the running of the station, helping ensure it continues to thrive.
So it's a really great opportunity for us to actually, with this money we're funded towards salaries, operation costs, and it will help us grow some more capacity and get more voices on air.
The council grant is not the only thing staff are celebrating, though, with an upcoming event currently in the works. The inaugural Big Listen is on this month, with 12 of the country's access radio stations all hitting the street to promote what they do. It's an idea that sprung from a meeting between all the stations last year.
With the larger group of 12 stations, we can kind of pool our collective media resource, as it is, to publicise things on a national level, with support from the national body New Zealand On Air as well. And really sharing ideas. A lot of the stations have come up with some pretty crazy ways of celebrating the Big Listen. We've got a few of our own.
In Dunedin, more than 80 community groups and individuals make their own programs on Otago Access Radio. It's a number that, while impressive, Harford says could definitely be higher as more people discover all the options available to them on air. Ruby McAndrew, 39 Dunedin News.
And finally, the Kia Toa Tigers have been crowned this year's Otago Rugby League champions after defeating the East Coast Eagles. The side won 32-18 at Forsyth Bar Stadium, taking home the coveted William Johnston Cup. And while there were a few standout players, the Tigers captain says it was very much a team effort.
Celebrating yet another win. The Kia Toa Tigers have retained their top-of-the-table spot for another year, winning the Premier Rugby League final at Forsyth Bar Stadium.
It was hard fought. A few of the boys came down sick during the week. There's about 4 of us that came down with the flu. But yeah, the boys dug hard, which was good, so okay with the win.
The Eagles showed dominance at the beginning of the match, scoring within the opening minutes of the final, but the Tigers quickly came back to score a try of their own. It was the first of many for the side, with Unahi proud of the way his team rallied, especially after a couple of setbacks during the season.
We dropped off a bit because of their varsity holidays, as we had a 4-week break, but we came back good. Yeah. Trainings were good after the break. Boys had a few injuries, but we pulled up pretty good.
At the half, the scoreline sat at 14-10 with the Tigers on the back foot, but they came back with a roar to bring the full-time score to 32-18, a credit to all those on the pitch.
Probably our 2 props, I reckon. It'll be Coben in the end. They really led the way, and Hagen, he backed up well, and our number 7 Toa, yeah. So there's probably a few guys that worked pretty hard and made their team go forward.
The winning side took the time to celebrate with each other, their families and the fans. A low-key streaker even made an appearance, bringing an end to the season for another year. Ruby McAndrew, 39 Dunedin News.
And that's all for this edition of Southern Newsweek. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, or you can keep up with Dunedin News via our website, dunedintv.co.nz. I'm Holly Buchanan. Thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand On Air.